right now. Somebody's got a beepy. Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. I know it's you. Welcome back, guys. It is the Network Effect on a special time today, Wednesday, because there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in Chicago right now at the hackathon, lunch and learns, all that. We don't want to, intersect. It's way easier to reschedule us. So here we are on Wednesday afternoon with Gunny to my right and our two guests today from
Convergence,
RFQ, which is dev speak for things I don't understand, which is excellent because we have two guys from there here today, Uwe and Apoorv, and they're here to show us and explain to us a little bit what's going on. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Yeah, so good to have you guys on the show. We've got Gunny here to kind of drive the bus on the conversation front because I'm going to be sitting right here in the audience with you guys learning about Convergence RFQ today. With that said, there will be some market commentary, some banter. We got a couple of charts, maybe even Gunny will let me show, but we're going to do that a little later near the end of the show today, guys. We have about a 20-minute interview, and then we're going to dive into some market stuff, some Hxro Network stuff, roadmap, and that. So stick around for the whole show. Should be about 45 minutes today. How would you like to start? I think a little bit about the recent partnership announcement or integration announcement would go a long way, and then maybe step back to like, who are you guys? What do you do?
Yeah, maybe, why don't I kick it off and RT. So we had the pleasure of meeting Uwe, actually. I'd never met Apoorv in person, but we met Uwe in Austin about 6 weeks ago. And as everybody knows, with Hxro Network, our focus really is on being that primitive layer and having not one app, but an entire library of applications that are plugging in at the application layer, where all liquidity ends up bottoming out and unifying into Hxro Network dexterity / spandex markets. So had the pleasure of meeting Uwe at the Hacker House, the Solana Hacker House in Austin a couple months ago, and we hit it off. And I think for them, and as well as many other Solana ecosystem applications, the idea of having an experienced team like Hxro Network's core contributors focused in on taking care of the complexities of the plumbing, and then allowing an application like Convergence to really focus in on their application layer, on the user-facing side of things, and on that end of the technology specifically, really makes for a great composed partnership. And so I would love for you guys to give first maybe some background on each of you as founders, and then we can get into the background of how Convergence came about, and we'll go from there. So Uwe, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Uwe Cerron. I started in, I have a background in finance and economics. I delved into computer science just because needed to learn programming. Had several ideas to test out, and nobody will help me how to code. So I decided to volunteer into a robotics lab. So that was my step into computer science. Eventually, I went to Stanford for a master's in computer science, but didn't stay there for long. I was in the human computer interaction lab for a little bit, and was researching into decentralized, governance mechanisms. And that's when I stumbled into Bitcoin. So one of the first things that I did was try to build lending and borrowing protocol on top of Bitcoin using multi-signature transactions, which used to take hours back in the day before Ethereum. So I had to handle most of the functionality off chain. After that, I exited to Citibank and decided to become a scalability engineer, mostly for Web2, and went back into Ethereum in 2020, contributed to a lot of DeFi protocols since then.
Nice.
Got into Solana last year for a DeFi option vault.
Yeah, nice.
that's where I saw the need for an alternative trading system to Cerron. So a more sophisticated approach and over-the-counter block size trades. And that's where I also met Apoorv and Brandon, who are my co-founders for this project, and Tim as well from Mega Markets, who has been contributed diligently towards the project. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks for the intro. Apoorv, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? What
Yeah,
got
sure.
you to this point?
So, thanks, Gani. Really, really great to be here. So, I'm Apoorv Tiwari. I come from a traditional finance background. So, I worked in TradFi for 11 years, 7 years with Deutsche Bank, did rates in FX, then moved over to Barclays, was there for 4 years doing equities. And then last year, I decided that it's time to move on. And basically, this is a Web3 crypto DeFi, whatever you call it. This is where all the action is, and this is where the future is. And I decided to just make a move, start exploring different things, and I met Uwe. We started bouncing ideas around.
How did you guys meet?
So we met in Lisbon in Breakpoint.
Breakpoint.
And-
Ooh, I was there. I probably ran into you guys.
Maybe.
Yes,
It's the guy with the free beer stumbling around with no shirt on.
Absolutely.
No,
yeah.
just-
If you were at any of the nightclubs or maybe the Lisbon casino.
yeah.
Maybe like-
Just kidding. Yeah.
That's where I was.
Absolutely. And then we started bouncing ideas around, and then was exploring what to do. And here we are building Convergence, an RFQ network on Solana. So, yeah.
I got to ask a question. I've heard this 3 letters before. There's so many acronyms. What is RFQ? Like I'm a 5-year-old in under 1 minute. Can you explain? Help me out.
So an RFQ is a request for quote system, right? And it's an essential part of financial market infrastructure. It exists everywhere in traditional finance, exists everywhere in centralized crypto as well. It's not there as yet on DeFi, or at least it's not that developed, and that's what we're building. I will take an example, right? Say you want to trade 100,000 of a shitcoin on Uniswap, say, right? You can directly go hit the MM. You will trade with a little bit of slippage. But if you want to trade 10 million, you can't, because that liquidity just doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. So what you will do is you will send out a request for quote to some specific counterparties. You're going to send a request saying that I want to trade 10 million of this. Please come back to me with the price. They come back with the price. You choose the best one. You like it, you trade. You don't like it, you don't trade, right? So that is basically an RFQ. Now, you can send an RFQ on phone, on Telegram, on chat. You can do it wherever. It's just a way to ask a request, right? Mm-hmm. But when you have electronic market infrastructure, it adds an extra layer of efficiency. It makes the whole market more efficient. And that's what we're building.
Okay. It's actually an outstanding ELA 5. Okay.
Does so maybe you can explain a little bit about how once the quote is requested, mm-hmm. how do the counterparties act? Is it an auction market? Is it a broadcast? Like how does it work on the other side of the trade?
So there are going to be multiple ways, right? So some of the people that we have talked to, some of the counterparties, some of the institutions, they can only trade with KYC. So there will be specific permission markets as well. But at the base layer, we are in DeFi, everything is open. So anyone can send out an RFQ and anyone can respond, right? And now I send out an RFQ saying I want to trade this particular token, right? Or this particular option or this particular perp, right? And I get back quotes from my counterparties. It could be a one-way quote when I've already specified the direction that I want to trade, or it could be a two-way market. And I look at all the quotes, I choose the best one, and I go with that. Or if I want to do a large size and I want to pick up multiple quotes, I pick up multiple in that trade, basically.
Very cool. And is there an expiration on the request?
Yes, there would be. So when as a user, as the person who sends out an RFQ, I send out an RFQ and I would have a particular time frame that this quote is valid for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. I can set that time. If I can set a 1-day quote as well, right? But I'm not going to get any responses till the last minute because it doesn't make sense for the market maker because quotes can become stale very quickly.
Am I, as somebody requesting a quote, am I held?
Mm-hmm.
So
No,
like,
you're not. So I can choose to trade, and I can choose to not accept any response, and then the code.
I think that's very important for people that are kind of new to the RFQ side of things.
Exactly.
You basically can go out and ping the market to what you're doing is you're asking the counterparties, which generally are market makers, or automated market makers. They're just auto responding to quotes, and in the TradFi world, they're responding to in tons of them, endless amounts. And there's a considerable amount of volume comes in that either that call around or that RFQ market in TradFi, in commodities, and every type of derivative. Actually, the more complex derivative that you get, the least likely that it ends up being like a lit market, like a market that actually has a market that you could see and trade against. Kind of like what we're used to trading spot markets or perps or futures or things like that. But kind of the more esoteric the derivative, the more likely it is going to run by an RFQ or kind of a call around market. And what they're building is really special because it is allowing anybody, as Apoorv said, is that at the base, like, you do have an opportunity to be on the market maker side. Of course you're going to end up competing with certain market makers, but the fact that you could connect in and respond, and maybe you find a niche, and I think the idea here is to start on kind of the basic liquid stuff, and then move into and just one of the beliefs that we have with Hxro Network too is that derivatives, the application of derivatives is kind of they're rethinking it now, and there's really an opportunity to expand what the idea of like where derivatives can be applied to. So I see this expanding in all shapes and forms, and it's pretty exciting to see that there's a smart team that's stepping up to just to kind of take this and offer it out in an application format for the rest of the world. So very, very, very cool. One more question I have, and I'll hand it back to Colin. Do you see this as something that where do you guys stand with the whole cross-chain concept? And how do you look at something like Solana? Like Hxro Network's built on top of Solana. Do you see that eventually being obfuscated away, like where the rest of the world, kind of the whole idea is that the application, anyone interfacing with the application layer isn't really going to care that they're on Solana other than having a Solana wallet or having a centralized wallet on an application with Solana underneath it? How do you guys view that, and where do you kind of see this going? Should you find product market fit and really start to grow?
I think what the end customer relies on is one cost, low transaction fees, and speed, right? So Solana's subsequent finality makes it ideal to build this kind of exchanges on chain. So and the ability to handle, I guess, I'm very big fan of dexterity and expand this risk engine. I think all of DeFi is trending towards capital efficiency, starting with MakerDAO at 150% localization. So whoever nails capital efficiency right is bound to reap a lot of the rewards or a lot of the user base, right? I think those are the three features that the end user wants. As far as cross-chain goes, Solana is a very competitive player in the space. I'm very well of Aptos and Near and these other chains. We are trying to tackle. We're trying to focus on a cross-chain approach, and one of our main stops after Solana is probably going to be Near. So, and that's what we're focusing on right now.
Interesting. Very cool.
I mean, you guys are kind of like shadow operators, right? You're the kind of protocol thing that somebody like me shouldn't really know they're using, right? Like I'll go to an application built on Hxro Network. I'll try to execute an order. It'll just get executed. And I won't necessarily know like, oh, I'm clicking on the Convergence tab. Like it's just going to happen, right? You guys are just going to be operating on that middle layer, so to speak?
Yes, absolutely. So an application behind the scenes, right? Running on the background of each application. So let's say I want to buy $20 million for an illiquid token on an aggregator, right? Like Jupiter, you're still going to see a lot of slippage happening for that token. So if we can connect silently in the background and provide a seamless experience to the user, I think that'd be a win scenario for us.
Now, this is just off the cuff, out of interest. Tell me a bit about your revenue model. I mean, as a business, you're here, you're working, you're grinding, you're building. Where does Convergence RFQ pull value out of it, or for yourselves? I mean,
so
where's your salary come from? Just curious about the rev model.
So in the longer run, definitely it'll come from fees through whatever volume is flowing through the protocol, fees of the order of a few bips. To start off with, we are starting with 0 fees to incentivize market participants and to build out.
Nice. Beauty. And
cool.
Gunny, maybe you could speak to this as an integration into the Hxro network. You know, fees is a big topic because 50% of the value accrual goes back to the stake token holders. How does this fit into that? Is that a separate model? Is it all baked in?
Yeah, no, the application layer generally has the ability to adjust the fees. So the way that it'll work at a very base level is you're going to have your base transaction fee at the primitive layer, at the Hxro network layer, and then above it there'll be fees, and then there's which the application will charge based on the type of application it is and how competitive it is, and but the model for applications, and this is probably a whole other episode to discuss once Convergence and a few other apps are live, is the idea of an application like Convergence also, having a stake in the network and earning their share of rewards. And so there's a really positive flywheel that exists between what the application is earning and then what goes back to its users. And there's, all the financial modeling that goes around that is effectively how guys like this can get down to having no fees early, and then moving up from there. So it works very symbiotically and very cohesively through our rewards, through their ability to aggregate volume at through their application. They'll earn their own share of rewards, and then plus what they're going to earn from the volume, or sorry, not from the volume turns and but from the staking rewards as well. So there's multiple legs for them to earn, no different than if a trader was plugging in direct, and they're going to earn the same type of rewards as well. The application gets to do that and aggregate their liquidity and reap the aggregated benefit of that, and then push that back to their users as they see fit, or they'll take it in as revenue. Okay.
Thanks for breaking that down for me. As we get to the top of our interview portion of today's show, is there any things you guys want to talk about, maybe more specific to what users can expect to see from this integration in the coming?
Yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit about roadmap. Yeah, posts from the Convergence guys. Once we get the primary integrations done, where are you guys looking to take this?
So, okay. So basically, what we are looking to do is we want to establish ourselves in the Solana ecosystem. We want to do a lot of integrations. We want to do integrations with good protocols, right? And we really love the infrastructure that Hxro Network is building out. And what we want to see is genuine demand from users, from traders. We want to go to a platform where that demand exists, and we want to participate in the growth of the network. We want to see flows come in, basically, right?
Right.
That's what everyone wants, right? You want to see the infrastructure that you've built be useful for people, be able to solve problems, be able to add value. And I think having an RFQ system will make the whole market infrastructure more complete and make it a more viable proposition for bigger institutions to come in and start trading large sizes, right?
Absolutely. It's a critical piece. It's one of those critical pieces, again, of like TradFi infrastructure that it exists in crypto through centralized exchanges, through some centralized exchanges, not all, but conceptually it is a critical piece of infrastructure that needs to be there. And it's always good. I remember one of the first things I said to Uwe was that it really is great when you see guys come from traditional finance who have actually had the domain experience of dealing with these parts of financial market infrastructure hands-on, and then think about how that exists and how to apply it into the DeFi or into a blockchain context. There's real value add there. I think often we get a lot of highly experimental things, which are amazing, which is one of the beauties of the crypto space and of just the whole DeFi space as a whole. It's like there's kind of this community of test pilots, if you will, who are willing to test with their own funds, and then you have very intelligent engineers that are trying to move the needle by putting things out that maybe don't exist in the in the current markets. But I would argue, as being somebody that's been around for about 30 years now, that everything that's being done there's some connection back to things that exist in TradFi, even down to Three Arrows Capital and Luna doing pulling the bullshit that they did, which is one of the things we're actually been trying to solve here, which is kind of concerning, but that's for another discussion.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, let's not go there.
We got 1 minute.
But I think that I think having teams that have crossed over that have that domain expertise is critical. Something that we have, very specifically with Hxro Network, something like Pith has, and you're starting to see more and more of it now. So I was very eager to work with you guys, a lot because of that, because we kind of more or less can speak the same language and have a very clear picture of, both have a clear picture of what each project is doing and how to move it all forward together. So pretty exciting.
Likewise, really excited to build this out.
Yeah, and that's really part of that network effect that we're going for here on the show, getting guests in here, different builders from various backgrounds and different protocols. And it made sense to have you guys in this week, obviously, with the latest announcement of the Convergence RFQ integration. Before
you guys get off, a couple, I guess just a couple random for the listeners. What are you guys seeing in the marketplace otherwise? Like, as founders, we all kind of have our ear to the ground of everything that's happening. Like,
what's in your bag?
What are you seeing that excites you outside of Convergence and Hxro, for that matter?
Uwe, you want to take this one?
I'm very excited that a few market makers are exploring market making NFTs, right? And as we see the evolution of NFTs beyond PFPs to probably data, and beyond that, intellectual property. I think these market makers, as long as they find a source to hedge the risk for the price of these NFTs, they'll start market making these, and they'll evolve into eventually market making data. It seems to be a trend that's happening. I'm very excited to see that in the next few years.
Is that a nod to SudoSwap?
SudoSwap?
Is that a nod? I don't hold any, but I've heard a lot about it. I know Messi, one of our core contributors here on the show, is a big fan of it. They're doing that, right? NFT market making?
Is it they're very bullish on NFT floor perpetuals and any other way to hedge the risk.
Which is why we're also building a way to RFQ NFTs. So
yeah, okay, cool. All right, I'm gonna keep an eye out for that. Apoorv, final thoughts. You obviously participate in the market a little bit. I'm Mr. Market participant in this show. I'm not a dev. What's in your bag? What are you holding? What's your favorite bullish coin that we haven't mentioned today? And it's not about everyone run and buy, but we like to just get a little personal here. And
so honestly, personally, I'm quite a lot in stables. I've de-risked a lot of my portfolio, and basically the macro situation is not stable yet, right? We are getting a rally, but a rally is actually counter trend to it works at counter purposes to what the Fed wants to do, right? Through the financial conditions index group. So I think this is a bear market rally. I don't see that it going too far.
Yeah.
So I'm still a bit cautious and still sitting mainly in stables.
It's easier to get work done when you're sitting in stables. I'll tell you that much.
Yes.
Look, I admire your patience. I think you're absolutely right. There is some reason to be excited this month. We've had a really great rally. Some guys are talking about how much money they're making, but we're coming into these resistances. It's part of a downtrend. And if we are to get into a new uptrend, you're right. I mean, it's months away from any kind of technical confirmation. So I admire your patience. It's really hard. I mean, I look at things, I'm like, oh, I'll get that later. And then it goes up $200. You're like, oh, so it's not easy. So bravo on that. Guys, thank you for coming on today. As we mentioned before the stream, we're going to cut the interview midway so we can get into something, a little more market specific stuff that will probably bore you entirely, but you're free to watch for the remainder. Thank you for coming on. I really
Thank you
appreciate
for
your
having
time.
us.
Thanks, gents. Really appreciate it. And of course, looking forward to continuing to work with you guys.
Yeah. I look forward to being able to afford to make an RFQ request sometime in the future.
What's the site again for them? Convergence RFQ. What is it?
Convergence.so.
You got that?
It's convergence.so.
Oh yeah, convergence.so. It's actually
that's right.
Yeah, it's up here on the screen, convergence.so. Where is it? Oh, yeah, I lied. Oh, there it is. There it is. Nope, it's not showing up. Okay. Convergence.so, guys. Thanks for showing up today and hanging out with us here on The Network Effect. For the viewers in the audience, we're going to stick around. We're going to swap over and just talk a little bit more specifically about the... there we go. Right? Yeah, trying to do two things at once. It's one of my newer skills. Let's talk markets. Let's talk Hxro Network. Let's get a little banter in. You guys may have noticed, due to lack of seating, Rob Levy bowed out today. So, but we will see him. Wait, what? What do we got here? Oh, okay. Don't worry. Don't mind me, guys. I'm just catching up on the screen here.
Colin, I don't think you and I have had a mano-a-mano.
We've never got to hang out, just us on stream. We have had
off stream. We
have had some good times. Let's get there's that. Okay, we're ready. Let's go.
Where we start? Are we starting?
I mean, I'm going to go to a chart now. I assume I have your permission. I want to just take a look at Bitcoin. What's going on here? We're stair stepping. There's nothing wrong with that. Trends tend to accelerate. So I'm excited to see the stair step. It's a little messy. Okay, guys, it's not DeltaFi. I wasn't prepared.
I don't think it's changed where we were thinking of with DeltaFi last week.
No.
Still looking at that upper 20s, low 30s before we start talking about a retrace or.
Yeah, what really excites me is just all this action. Like we're getting PCZ season in full effect. I mean, we had it back here, we had it here, and it's interesting because this is the season where I want to be patient. I want to wait for bigger dips, and it's like I'm feeling bearish. I'm uncertain, and you're not getting it, right? It's just getting into these 0.5s, these 0.382s, and it's just running. So it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here. I know Solana had a rough night last night, but they're hanging in there. Let's go take a look. I think it's worth.
Is it one of these things where?
Oh, that's not the one.
It's one thing that's interesting, and obviously I. Maybe have some Solana bias, cough.
Just a little.
Solana has a hack, an exploit that, all in, not including that $570 million or whatever it was, exist token, which I think was.
Oh, that doesn't count. No, that looked like.
Means that it was a phishing scam.
No, I think that's an Oracle fail because there's no way that exists.
Yeah,
ironically,
its
name is
you
exist.
See it somewhere. It doesn't show up. So,
yeah.
Solana has something that is maybe all in. How much did this cost? $5 million. As bad as that is, like 7,600 wallets or something like that were compromised. It's horrible, right? And it's frustrating as hell. But it, on a relative basis. This wasn't an Axie Infinity level exploit.
Nomad Bridge. I mean, just the day before was what?
Was a Nomad Bridge
45x the size.
Why is the expectation that Solana is flawless and perfect? Yeah. A little over 2 years into its existence.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it is. You're going to see people dunking on it because they're dunking on it on the good days too, right? It's weird. A maximalism. In fact, I've started very, I was going to say vehemently. I don't even know that word well enough to use. So We're going to scrap that. Take that part out. I've started blocking anyone who identifies as a maxi. I started not even blocking, just muting. Like I've spent so much energy wading through the trash that is, look at me, I've got a better thing. Look at you, you've got a worse thing. And I'm just like, oh, fuck off. Like I just don't get into that. Now some people shit post about it. I know, our friend Udi loves to talk about that stuff, and I keep him on. I like him because he's almost like the anti-maxi now. But
I mean, it's almost like the Udi Brad Mills.
The Brad Mills show. Look,
wrestling matches. Like,
I got no energy for it. It's fraught with bias. It's fraught with BS, and it's got blinders on. So look, people are going to dunk on Solana and say this is a big problem. It sounds like it may have been a piece of software that a lot of developers were using that had nothing to do with Solana specifically to the code.
Correct.
It almost certainly was something like that. Maybe it was just a big, giant phishing scam that was built up over 9 months, and they executed it last night. Nobody knows yet. So
it's just that this is technology, early technology, over and over again, even with Ethereum, and even with this is guys, this is the trade-off of the reward that you get.
Yes.
If this had no risk to it, if none of this had any risk to it, you wouldn't get the potential convexity and upside that you're getting out of it. It wouldn't exist.
It would be priced in, and it will be priced in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, when everything's running smooth and you're using applications that serve you well. And in the background, you're using 5 different chains across 4 different bridges or messaging protocols like Stargate, and you don't have to know anything to use it all. And price of X coin is 1,000X, like whatever it is. I think, and I was actually thinking about this during the show, I look forward in a term of not 2 to 5 years, 4-year cycle. I get that. People are here. They say, oh, this is my life now. Financially, I want it to change. I've got 2 to 5 years. I really want it. But this is a generational shift in my view, and a lot of people's view, that is like somebody asked in the chat, do you guys see, Cerron and Hxro Network absorbing legacy finance markets? That's such a ridiculously bold thing to say that, yes, that's what's going to happen. But the tide is going out on traditional systems.
Right.
I mean, how many failures, how many rugs, and I'm talking not like rugs on LP tokens, I'm talking like 2008s, how many of these like human error driven, greed driven, backdoor room, nepotism, like bullshit. How much of that has to happen before we just hard code honest trust systems, whatever?
Yeah, and are we willing to accept some instability in the short run to hard code a system for
it's inevitable. Future? Yeah, you've got to put some incentives in there. Like the hackers have to be incentivized to poke holes in this code. And it sounds like 5 million was enough last night. So look, on a technical level, I think it's really interesting to see Solana do nothing but continue its slow trend up. I was looking at this the other day thinking, God damn, I know it's ETH season and I know it's like LDO staking echo season, but I really like this chart. I think it's bulls are in control on volume. The selling is very small. The buying is very big. And it's just probably
definitely a chart that all things being equal, you're looking forward to the dips, and you're kind of seeing it in the market, right? I mean, you had
I was looking for a bigger dip last night.
Sold off. Yeah. What, 8%, and then bounced back. I mean,
right into the level that was kind of like probably going to hit anyways. I mean, look, I get it. It's scary, dude. I was on last night. I called Rob on the phone. I didn't have your number. I should get your number, but I called him up. I said, yo, call Gunny. Like, I know you guys probably have some funds on Solana. It sounds a little weird. And then I go, and I'm locked with a ledger anyways, but I'm using Phantom, and I go and I move my funds to FTX. And then I'm sitting there like, well, what if the exploit, is going to affect the hot wallets at FTX? Like, it is scary. You're like, how can I get out to this, like, for sure safety when you don't know what's going on? You can't. I mean, you can go sit in USD and then someone tells you USD is insolvent, or USDC. So you have to accept a certain level of risk. And this is why we go back to playing from strength,
We're like nomad. We're like the Jewish diaspora. I'm a Jew, so I talk
you're allowed to say that shit. I'm just like, la, la, la.
Right. You're a home for our cryptocurrency.
Yeah, it's really, you really have to accept. And I actually had this chat with somebody just 2 days ago. I said, how can I secure things for my future that are zero dependency on my crypto holdings? Because even though I expect some kind of higher low, higher high trajectory for my own portfolio, I could get hacked at any time. I could get rugged. Like big fucking crazy things could happen to my entire crypto portion of my net worth at any moment I want to make sure I'm isolated from that. So I'm working through the hiccups of that kind of growth in my own life. But like, yeah, if you were scared last night, if you got hit last night, that's the sad thing. I think out of the 8,000 wallets, there's probably a lot of people where that was a significant portion of their net worth.
Oh yeah.
And even if
Horrible.
it's like 5 million is so small compared to all these bridge hacks. But it's fucked up. And I have a feeling that when everything's all said and done and they get to the bottom of this, that there's going to be some, I don't know, gift giving, some help given out. Like I feel good about people having a shot to make something back here. But that's just pure conjecture. It's a small enough sum that I think a community overlord might be willing to make things right. If especially if they had anything they could have done maybe to have prevented it or something. I don't know.
It would be, I can see a GoFundMe.
You know what I mean?
Style.
Like I could see a certain person step in and being the hero. I'm just going to put it out there. I don't know. No pressure. Anyways, let's talk Hxro Network. I know this is like feeling like Delphi. I just want to kick it for the next hour, but we are getting near the end of the show. Talk Hxro Network with me for the next few minutes, and then let's let these lovely people be on their way, and we'll hit them up tomorrow.
Yeah. So obviously with the announcement this week, we got a couple more. Trying to get one more out this week. We do have a handful of apps and market makers that are joining up and just getting sign off from some of their legal departments to make make public announcements now. And in terms of the sandbox, it's going incredibly well. There is another app that is going to be building what we think is going to end up being kind of like the showcase UI for users. That's going to have a lot of very cool, maybe never before seen in crypto functionalities that, these are again, things that people that are coming from traditional finance backgrounds and have really found fit in how to, in ways of giving a UI UX to traders, even traders that are not, don't have engineers on their teams or aren't engineers themselves that are, be able to do kind of like low code, no code automation type stuff and some different ways of looking at the market, at a lit market. And that's all happening now. So some very cool things coming out there. There is, we are completing the first set of exchange supported or network supported spread markets. So on this first Bitcoin, perp, and term structured futures markets that are in the sandbox, you'll start seeing spread permutations on them. And you'll really see how the liquidity from the individual legs of spreads and the spreads themselves start to interact and work. And kind of the trading opportunities that get created around that. You can start looking at the market in different ways, which we'll definitely need to do some sessions on either here or on DeltaFi around how to look at spreads, like the relationships of one point of a curve against another point of a curve. And
I would like to sit front row for that.
Yeah, because you're no longer trading up or down as much as you're trading the slope or the relationship of one point in time to another point in time. And it gives you these other dimensions to look at a market, and it's pretty cool. And then obviously that whole spread functionality and dexterity really plays in when you start getting into complex order books and complex spreads for options, which is going to be coming later this year too. So all that's happening. Again, the whole rewards and staking, all of that work is done, and just getting the final touches, the integration into the sandbox there, and we're moving. We're building hard and we're moving, and a couple new hires for Hxro Labs team that we'll announce the next couple days as well. Some really key kind of more senior level engineers who are joining the project, and everything's kind of leveling up. So pretty exciting time, and hopefully we can time this with as we go to market with the market as a whole starting to lift and
some momentum, a little,
and off we go. Right,
energy,
makes it it's great to be building in these quiet doldrums, and then when things are moving, the market's moving, you really can kind of capture that tide along with everybody else. It'd be pretty exciting.
Yeah, no doubt. It's easier to build when it's quiet. It's more fun to build when it's loud and there's energy and inertia. It's probably,
Well,
I personally am
nice
at my
down market,
computer
like you
more.
said, it's like being in stables, right? Like you can actually get work done. When it's crazy, you have, you're figuring out how much you're going to put into tendies.
Well, yeah, and you're doing silly calculations like, well, look how much more I can make just by not working, and then it's very distracting to try to get to work for any amount of a daily income. Can sometimes not compare to what the market will try to give you, but it gives you it only for brief times, and then it taketh away. ETH
that's
BTC.
it. So,
yeah,
what's that?
No, I'm just looking at the ETH BTC weekly here for like a view of what it looks like to go through a long build season, and then what it looks like to get sort of like these big rallies. Like last 2 years was not even a big rally for ETH BTC.
Yeah, but that chart looks pretty interesting too.
Yeah, if we ever break out of this, this crazy, this is like a year and a half wedge or consolidation. Anyways, if we break up from here, oh buddy, it's going to reprice a lot of stuff. So that should be
big
fun.
Time.
Should be fun to see.
What's going on with the merge?
There's no latest update other than September 18th being sort of a punted estimate. I don't know how serious they are about that estimate, but there's one last testnet. I would be remiss to say that I don't actually know the exact date of it, but it starts with a G, the name of the testnet, I think. But we'll bring that up on DeltaFi. It's going to be something to pay attention to. Look, I look at the chart and I am cautiously optimistic. Let's see if I can explain why before all the guys start bullying me again. For what are you, some sort of bear? But let's take a look here. This was kind of my idea for a pullback, but let's go over here because this is my daily. Like you look at the daily, you look around at some of the psychology, the bear case I put out on Twitter the other day, along with a bull case. Don't worry. But it's just this idea that, nope, that should be down here. It's a red one.
I love your squigglies.
You like my squigs? Yeah, I'm a fan. I think it's fun to just, if nothing, it's like illustrating what what I'm kind of seeing. Look, this is a big resistance level. So coming into it,
it's going to take some work here.
There's going to be sellers there. There's just going to be, and they were there on the weekend. Right when I was looking at it, everything broke out. I was like, oh yay! But it was bearish divergence. It's falling volume, so we are going to take some work to get through there. And so I wouldn't be shocked if we come up into this merge and there's some FUDors. I think it's a great opportunity for FUDors to take advantage of things, whether that is, like uncertainty around, it's a massive undertaking to merge. It's a never been done thing for something of this size as far as switching from POW to POS. And there's a lot of room for people to come in and create uncertainty. So I wouldn't be shocked if we break through here and we just rally. I think 2,500 is like a nice merge target for me. But I would be equally as blasé if we were to just range lower into the merge, which is actually my preferred trade, because then we could, sell the rumor, buy the news kind of thing. I think this is more exciting. But I'm ready for whatever. I've got some spot. I've got some cash. I'm trading it up. I'm trading it down. And I think the heat in the market right now, the hot ball of money is rolling into LDO. It's rolling into like SY. Some of these lower cap ETH2 staking protocols are just flying right now. So that's where I've got my mental energy. And Fold, is another one that just took off. Look at this chart. I brought this up. I actually just rewatched the segment. It wasn't a very, me, I'm always like half foot out the door, not trying to like shill anything, but
right.
But I did mention it and said, it looks really bullish. Keep it on your calendar for 22, 23. But it was low liquidity, so I didn't want to tell people to go ape in. Well, it's 1.5 now, so the liquidity is like 6x with this growth. It's insane. I think it's like 3x.
Wow, look at that.
Since that show a few weeks ago.
Jeez.
But it's flying, dude. And this one's going to be a cash printer. Obviously, there's already people coming out saying like, oh, just 100-fold will set you a salary. So we'll see where this thing goes. It's never traded above 70. It's still a very low cap, 68 mil now, I guess. So maybe not very low, but pretty low. And
this is a value accrual type.
Yeah. It's like a stake and then get cash rewards. And they have, there's something about building blocks. So on ETH2, the next block to get processed is the one that has the most value packed into the block. And so there's going to be block builders. There's going to be this competitive network of people trying to build the most valuable blocks, and then they get to mine the next block, and then they get the reward. And that's a new concept that I hadn't known about. And apparently Manifold, these guys are going to be putting themselves in position to build the most valuable blocks very, very often. And that revenue will be distributed to stakers. That's one aspect. There's just all these little products they're building. So anyways, there's a super thread. Yeah, I retweeted a super thread the other day, yesterday actually, that somebody put out, which I think is behind this rally. But I mean, you've got Securities now talking about it. So yeah, this is the one on my radar. Not at this level, but with that liquidity, somebody's going to take profit at one of these points up here, and there's going to be some dips. So, I'm probably sliding this up. Now, obviously, I'm getting FOMO, even though I've had a bag for like a year and a half. But, sliding this up, and what is it going to be? 29, I get the PCZ. I'll probably add a little, to be honest. But anyways.
So a lot of gems out there, man.
We went straight degen on this show. I thought we are just going to touch on it in 5 more minutes, but you got me talking, and the market's exciting. So, let's switch back over here. I'm just going to switch one thing here. I'm going to switch one thing here. I have not specifically confirmed with Messi about tomorrow, but I have spoken to Rob. I've got you right here. I'll be there. And I think Messi will be there. I get this vibe that he's in on Thursdays now. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for sticking around and showing up today. Tried to throw a little extra market banter in at the end because things are hot, and that's why we're here. But you got a segment from Dan there on what's coming up for Hxro Network, and we got to hear from our friends over at Convergence, RFQ, Uwe and Apoorv, who came in to share what they're building and how our integration looks. So
we'll be doing this every week. Some new guests coming on. So pretty much every week.
Yeah, and a variety of guests too. I mean, sometimes it'll be builders, sometimes partners, sometimes just big names of people that we'd like to chat with and see what their takes are. So we're gonna try to mix it up. Thanks for coming out, guys. Like and subscribe and all that fun stuff if you haven't already. It matters, so don't delay. And whatever you do from now until tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern, always play from a position of strength. Take care.
See ya.